Well, hello everybody out there in YouTube land. I know a lot of you've been wondering what on earth has become of Brenda and why isn't she doing any videos and what has been going on. Well, I can't make this stuff up. I couldn't if I tried. You would not believe the debacle that I have been in for the last 6 weeks. This has just been absolutely unreal. But I'm going to try to describe it to you. And I'm sure I'll leave part of it out because this has just been a long, drawn out nightmare of a process. We'll start out with the fact that I have always been a Dell computer person. You know, I've always dealt with Dell, and they've not done me wrong until here recent. I've always been able to get the technical support, the warranty programs, everything that I have needed to take care of Dell computers, which was very important to me, especially with the work that I had been doing before I retired, because I really relied on a computer. Well, most everybody that has followed my shows on various channels know that my poor laptop has been about to die for several months now. It's got all kinds of issues. It's got heatsink issues. It's got memory issues. It's got CPU issues. It's got more issues than you could shake a stick at. Well, it come time that I need to think about replacing the computer. So I thought, well, I'll tell you what, since I am doing the craft videos on another channel, I need to have a camera hooked up to a computer, and it would probably just be easier. Now, this was my thinking in my technically challenged mind. It would probably just be easier if I got a tower and, you know, replace the laptop with a tower, put it up in the studio, and that way it would be right there. I could have the camera hooked up to it, have everything set up just the way I need it. So I went over to the Dell site and checked out computers, and I talked to a couple friends of mine about, you know, what I would need in order to be able to do what I want to do with it, and picked one out. And I thought, well, okay, if you're going to get the computer, you need to get the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor, and the speakers. Get the whole package, whole 9 yards. That way you got everything new, and get the warranty on it, and you're set. I mean, you know, this made sense in my mind. Now, maybe, you know, some of you out there are thinking, boy, she lost her marbles. But this, you know, this is how my mind computes this. So I ordered the whole thing. I had, you know, being a Dell customer, I had a Dell charge account, so I put it on the Dell charge. And the first thing I get is all the accessories and not the computer. And I had to wait an extra week to get the computer. So I get the computer. I've got the accessories all set up, so I take the computer tower up to the studio and I go to hook it up, and they had the wrong cable on the monitor for hooking it up to the computer. So I called them up, got a hold of tech support. Now, every time you call tech support, it takes 15 minutes just to get a hold of somebody, you know, because you got to go through all the prompts, you got to read them, the numbers from the express tag and all this stuff, you know, and they go through all this foolishness, and you finally get somebody that doesn't speak good English on the other end of the phone. But I've always been able to cope with that. You know, it's not ever really been a huge deal. So, you know, I flow with it, and I explain to them what kind of a plug it's got on the monitor and what kind of plug-in thing is on the computer. They look it all up in their system, and they say, oh, well, you have to have a special cord for that, and we have to put you through the sales department. And I said, well, okay, whatever you got to do. So they put me through the sales department. The sales department said, well, of course, I have to explain it all to them again. And they look it up and they say, yes, you have to have this other cord, and it's going to cost you $13.90. And I said, you know, surely you are fooling around here, because you can't possibly be going to charge me after I've spent all this money for this complete system. You're going to charge me for a cable to be able to hook the monitor up to the computer? Well, yes, ma'am. You know, well, here, we're going to send it to you overnight, and we're not charging you nothing for that. Like I'm supposed to jump up and down. I said, well, you got me over a barrel here. I got to have the cable in order to hook up the monitor. So I guess, you know, let's go ahead and do this thing if we're going to do it. Well, the next day I get the cable. and I hook up the monitor so that I can turn on the computer. So now, we're a little over a week of me being into this and not even being able to use this thing. The warranty time is ticking because it's, you have 30 days to replace it from the time you order it. So I get the computer on, and I'm not used to Windows 10 at all. Windows 10 is a new varmint to me. So I have to figure out how to use this thing. And the first thing it does is it gets you to a page where you have to log into it. You got to put in a login number. So I get me a login number made up and all that. As soon as you log in, it goes into a save mode. And the screen goes black. You can't get it to do nothing unless you reboot the machine at the tower. So I reboot it and I go through this again. And I go through this again. Finally, I just called tech support and I said, look, we got a problem. I got this new computer and it won't even let me do anything past logging in. It goes into save mode. So the fella on the other end, speaking broken English, he tells me that, well, this is normal. And I said, well, I've never had a computer that did this before, but I've never had one that had Windows 10 on it before either. I said, but, I don't see how it could possibly be normal to have to keep rebooting the machine. When do you get to use it? And he says, well, let's do this. So he makes me put in a bunch of commands and stuff to the thing, and he gets into it through the remote assist deal, and he fools around. He updates everything in it. He updates the drivers. He updates, I don't know, the BIOS. He updates whatever the heck needs to be updated in the doggone thing. And he's on there, for well over an hour messing with it. In the process, he hooks up my printer and he hooks up my camera and, gets it all set up. So now I'm ready to rock, right? And he says, okay, it's all set up for you. You shouldn't have any more problems. If you do, you call us back. We'll send you an email, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So to shorten up his story a little bit, over the course of the next week and a half, Dell Technical Support has spent over 12 hours on this computer trying to get the save mode foolishness to stop. It would do the save mode thing about 5 or 6 times of you starting it up, and then it would work for about 30 minutes before it would lock up, completely lock up. It wouldn't even go into save mode. It would just lock up. And I kept getting them on the phone saying, here's the issue with it. Here's the issue. Here's the issue. And they kept messing with it, messing with it, messing with it. Finally, this one fellow says, look, I'm looking back at all the reports and stuff on this computer and how you keep repeatedly having this issue, and tech support doesn't seem to be able to do anything about it. You're within a week here of having, being able to return it. He said, since you're having all these problems with it, I'd suggest you return it. Well, I had already returned the keyboard and the mouse because I did not like them at all. They were wireless keyboard and mouse, and they didn't want to work half the time. Yeah, apparently, they were having problems communicating since the tower was underneath the table, which was the only place that I had to put it. So I'd already sent them back. And I said, well, you are right. I said, I can't be on the phone with you guys all the time. You've spent more time on this computer since I've got it sent, since it was sent in here than I have. If this computer was in a work environment, nobody'd ever get any work done. And he said, well, whatever its problem is, it's apparently nothing that we're going to be able to fix here through tech support on the phone. He says, so I suggest you just go through, they call it customer care. Go through customer care, and they'll give you all the information you need in order to be able to return it. So I call it customer care, which is a different phone number. You have to hang up and call a different number. So I call this number. And I get some other goomer on the phone that can't speak English either. And he makes me go through the whole thing. And he's trying to talk me into keeping this thing. And I said, what part of this is that you don't understand? I'm returning this computer. I need the proper information in order to be able to return this computer. So stop giving me a hard time about this. Just give me the information I need so I can send it back. I'm sending it all back. I said the computer, the monitor, the speakers are all coming back to you guys. And I'm going to return that cable too that I had to pay extra for. And he says, well, ma'am, as far as the cable is concerned, you can just keep that because we don't issue a return on anything less than $20. He said, we'll just take it off your charge. Seriously, I cannot make this up. I mean, it was important enough for them to charge me the $13.90 for, but when it comes time to return it, they're just going to take it off my charge. No big deal. He gives me the information to return the computer, but he's wanting me to label it all and haul it someplace to dump it out for FedEx. And I said, I'm not hauling it anywhere. It was brought to my door. Somebody could come pick it up at the door, and I'm not printing out any labels either. I said that they can bring labels with them. They brought a label for that keyboard and mouse. They can bring labels for this stuff too. I'm out enough expense on this. I'm not wasting ink. Just send somebody to the door to pick it up. Well, they'll be there between 9 and 5 tomorrow, he says. This was on a Monday. So I box them all up Monday night. Tuesday comes, 9 to 5. I'm sitting here staring at the door waiting for FedEx. They don't show up. Wednesday comes. I sit here from 9 to 5 staring at the door. FedEx don't show up. By this time, I have lost total patience. So I called Dell back, customer uncare, and I was in the prompts for 15 minutes. I finally get some other goomer on the phone, can't speak English. He wants to know the number on the computer stuff, so I give him all this. He can't find it. I said, the reason you can't find it is because I'm trying to return it. It's already been processed for return. What I'm calling you to find out is, when is FedEx going to be here? I've sat for 2 days growing chin hairs waiting for them to show up to get this stuff out of my house. I don't work for you people. You're not paying me to sit here. I've got other things that I'd like to be doing. I'm wasting my life waiting for FedEx. It's not one of them. When are they coming? So he puts me on hold. Finally, he comes back. I spent, I don't know, a good 15 minutes on hold. He finally comes back and he says, "Is all they would tell me is that they will be there during normal business hours." And I said, "Well, of what day of what year? Because I ain't sitting here no longer. I will drag it out on the front porch, and wherever it ends up is wherever it ends up. I've had enough." He says, "Well, ma'am, I've called UPS. UPS will come and get it tomorrow. I'm going to email you this tag to print out." So here we go through this again. I said, "I ain't printing out no tags." I said, "You just send them to the door with the proper tags to get this stuff out of here." I check my email after I get off the phone from him. He sent me one tag. I've got 3 boxes to go out. He sent me one lousy tag. I look at this tag and it says 1 of 1. I thought, I am not calling Dell back and going through 15 minutes of prompts and another 15, 30, an hour, whatever it is on the phone, trying to get them straightened out to send me the proper stuff here. This is ridiculous. I went ahead and I printed out the doggone tag, but I changed the numbers on it to say 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. I slapped them tags on the box. The next day, UPS shows up at the door with one tag, and I explained to him what was going on, and he says, "Well, let me see what you've done." So I showed him the boxes, and he says, "That'll work. That'll get them back." I said, "All right, fine." So he took all 3 boxes, gets them out of here. A couple days pass, and I start getting all these emails from Dell raising hell with me because I didn't send the boxes back FedEx. So I wrote back to him and I said, "I didn't send them FedEx because FedEx wouldn't come and pick up your junk. I sent them back per your instructions through UPS." Well, the guy that was sending me the emails from Dell, he didn't know nothing about UPS. He didn't even have the blasted tracking number that Dell had provided me. So I gave him the tracking number. And he sends back a thing saying, "Thank you very much. And once we get the stuff back, we'll credit your charge." So I pulled up the tracking on UPS, and it says that Dell has refused the boxes and that they're supposed to come back to me. So I sat here and I waited 10 days. The boxes never came back to me, but it still said the same thing on the UPS site. So I go to the UPS website and I'm trying to look up information, and I get the chat screen thing up, and they're telling me in the chat screen that they don't have any further information than what it says in the tracking, and So I told them I want to talk to somebody in customer service on the phone. I want a live person on the phone that I can speak to about this. Well, they finally gave me a phone number after giving me a big runaround. I probably spent over 30 minutes just online trying to get the doggone phone number out of them. They give me the phone number. So I call, have to go through a bunch of prompts, and then I get some guy on the phone, and I started explaining it to him. He doesn't speak good English. He can't understand what I'm trying to tell him. And he finally gets it through his thick head, what I'm telling him. He says, well, I can't come up with any more information. I'm going to have to put you through to a supervisor. Oh, thank the good Lord. Finally, we're going to get a supervisor somewhere. So I get this UPS supervisor on the phone, and it's a lady. And I explained to her what has happened. And she says, okay, here's the thing. The boxes will not come back to you because there's an embedded code in the tag on those boxes so that if Dell refuses them, they go to an alternate Dell location. Dell still gets the stuff back. It just doesn't go to the address that was on the label. I cannot give you that address, but I can tell you that Dell has gotten this stuff back, or at least one box of it. And I said, well, what do you mean one box? And she says, well, because you used that label, is all it's going to track is one box. They were supposed to have given you 3 different labels, which would have 3 different tracking numbers. So the tracking number is only going to track one box. I don't know, about the other 2. I can only assume that Dell's getting them back. So Dell hasn't said a word to me. They told me originally that it was going to take at least 30 days once they get the stuff back in order to credit my charge. So I have to wait until my next charge bill comes in to see if they have credited me or if they're going to start trying to charge me interest and late fees and stuff on this stuff, or what exactly it is they're going to do. Luckily, I did have presence of mind that inside every box I put the return code number. And now these were FedEx return codes because that's all I had it for a return code, but I put the return codes, my name and address and phone number inside every box. So whoever opens the boxes up is going to see who returned them. But man, oh man, what a mess I have been through with Dell. And it looks like I'm going to continue to go through it. And I may even end up in small claims court because this has cost me a fortune in long distance calls and minutes off my cell phone and my time wasted in all this. As all I really want is all that stuff just taken off my bill at this point. But, if they're really going to push the issue, I'm going to go after them for everything it's cost me. Wow. I never in a million years figured that I'd have that problem with Dell, which brings me to my next part of this story. Since the thing wasn't going to work out with Dell, I still need a computer. And since I've always been a Dell person, I was afraid to buy anything from Dell at this point because I've had such a bad experience with them. If this is the way they're going to do business, associated with that, not coming from somebody that's been a loyal Dell person for over 20 years. Well, I talked to several people, and the basic consensus of it was that I probably need to go with HP. So I checked out all their information and their tech service, because all that's very important to me when purchasing a computer. Since I'm, not real technically savvy on this, I need somebody that knows, what's what. So I check it all out, and yeah, it was fairly comparable to what Dell had. In some ways, it was better. In some ways, it wasn't quite as good, but it averaged out. And the computer that I picked out was a little more expensive. It's a laptop, but it's one piece. I'm not dealing with monitors and speakers and separate mouse and keyboard and all that. It's one piece, and I can get it to do what I want it to do, and it's going to be more portable for me. So I decided this time I would go with a laptop. And so I picked one out on the HP site, get the warranty and everything that I need to go with it, and I order the thing. And they send me an email right away, and it says, your order's being processed. You'll have it in 2 to 4 business days. I thought, wow, that's great. That's right up there. So this was on a Thursday, and I figured it won't be here until first of the week at this point, so I just kind of relaxed. I'm doing things around the house, and doorbell rings. I go to the door. FedEx is standing there, but he's got an envelope. I knew there couldn't be no laptop in that envelope. And he wanted me to sign for this envelope, so I signed for it, and he leaves, and I bring it in, and I open it up, and the envelope's from HP, but it's got what I would refer to as a bunch of junk mail in it. It's got an envelope for returning an HP ink cartridge, which I don't have anything HP here, and as far as I know, laptops don't use ink, so why I would need that, I have no clue. And it had a little old advertisement card in there for HP, which was something that you see in your mailbox as a flyer, and it had another card in there that talked about the warranty thing, and it had an 800 number on it that you would call if you had any warranty issues, which is something they could easily have sent me in an email. And I'm standing there scratching my head wondering, well, what in the hell did I have to sign for junk mail for? What is this, and where is my computer? I thought, well, did he drive off with the computer on his truck? What's the deal here? And I kind of wondered about that and pondered on that until Sunday night, and I thought, I better check and find out what the hell's going on with this computer. So I go to the HP side, I'm checking things out, and then through the course of the whole thing, I forget exactly how it unfolded. Through the course of the whole thing, I found out that, oh no, my computer wasn't going to be mailed until the 31st of July, and I was supposed to get it on the 3rd. I thought, well, I guess that's good to know. I won't be standing here all week, wondering where the computer is. So I went on about my business. Well, the other day I get an email message that says that my computer has been shipped, and it will be here on the 2nd by noon by FedEx. And it gives me a tracking number. So I pull up the tracking number. My computer was originating in China. And I thought, well, okay, I don't know. Yeah, obviously it's got to come by air, but, is it going to be here by the 2nd? What's the deal? Because coming from China, that's pretty quick coming from China. Anything I've ever had to deal with China has always taken several weeks. So I've been keeping an eye on this tracking number. And it was in China, and it was in China, it was in China. Then all of a sudden, this morning, it was in Japan. Now, this is the first day of August. It's supposed to be here on the 2nd day of August, according to the tracking number, by noon. As of 3 o'clock this afternoon, it had hit Japan. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this tracking number to see, what's going on with this. If it makes it here by noon tomorrow, I'm going to be absolutely amazed. I mean, sooner rather than later, because I'm sure that the time's ticking on me being able to return it just like it was with Dell, if something goes wrong with it. But Lord have mercy. And then once I get it, I've got to go through tech support, get everything set up, get my printer on it, get my camera on it, and get everything updated on it, and get all my files put on it so that I can, really use it. Man. And then I'll be back to doing my videos again. I'm lucky I'm being able to do this one because this computer's not been very cooperative. This little old thing limping along here has not been cooperative with me being able to get any videos going on it. It won't support my camera for doing my craft videos because this is an old Windows 7 computer and my camera is set up for Windows 10. So, I'm kind of at the mercy of technology here to be able to do my craft videos again. But Lord have mercy, what a nightmare. And, with Dell, it ain't over yet. And with HP, it's barely begun. I cannot make this stuff up. People that deal with Dell all the time can't believe it either. You know, they're saying, well, I've never had that experience with Dell. And I said, well, wait till you have to order another computer and the doggone thing don't work. Man, I never thought in a million years that I'd have that kind of problem with Dell, but hey, it is what it is, and I can't make this up. But as soon as I get the new computer here and I get everything hooked up on it and get it running, Brenda's back, baby. Brenda's a crafter. Brenda's been putting it together and putting pictures up all over Facebook. And if you're one of my Facebook members and you've seen all the stuff I'm doing, you know Brenda is crafty. Be like Brenda.